Computer, reference the Xmen. I need to know what I'm up against. They aren't the wimps I thought they were.
Hey everyone, Stacks here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I'm checking out Cable #1 by Gerry Duggan and Phil Noto. And honestly, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with Gerry Duggan. I love to get hyped for his books. I love to get excited for him. And then I hate to find out that he's disappointed me. Now, in fairness, he has been on Savage Avengers, which I started out on Savage Avengers and then I missed a couple issues at my shop because I didn't have my pull list. And next thing you know, I fell behind on it. I just haven't picked it back up. But I've heard good things about it, so I'll give him that. But I also have to hold him responsible for Wolverine Infinity Watch, so it's a trade-off. And don't get me wrong about Gerry Duggan. I think he has some really good concepts. I think sometimes in execution he tries to get cute or he tries to be funny, and that's where he kind of loses himself sometimes. I've kind of summed him up as like just not a strong finisher. I will say if you've liked Marauders consistently, which I've said is, in my opinion, an inconsistent book. If you've consistently liked Marauders, you're really going to like Cable because it's written very much in the same vein. Now, I didn't say it was a bad book. It's average. And I'd say this book right here is average with a small peak at the end, but stick around and we'll get to that. So let's go ahead and get started. But first, if you haven't, go ahead and take a time, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and leave a like. And then at the end, make sure you leave me a comment and tell me what you think about Cable #1. So I did a previous preview of the first little bit here, this fight between Wolverine and Cable. So if you want some things that kind of tweaked me, you can go check out that preview. I'll leave a link for it right about here. I just discussed some different things and some tropes that you see being established really early on in this book. Anyways, as far as this fight goes, this is happening in what they're calling the Quarry. It's basically a series of fights that they're having where you can go and earn prestige, level up, I don't know. But you have Cable, Wolverine. Wolverine comes at Cable, slices his rifle right in half. Well, Cable's reaction is to throw up a timeout, and Wolverine's not having it. Wolverine is like, is that a joke? Bringing a human idea like that into our dojo? And he takes another swipe at Cable, and Cable just says, boom, stop. Uses his telekinesis and stops Wolverine mid-strike. And then, hits him with a right. From there, he makes use of what he has left of his rifles, takes them both, and then throws them at Wolverine and basically caps his claws, like those little plastic tip claws you put on cats who scratch your couch up, so that Wolverine is completely inefficient with his claws right now. Cable takes that opportunity, tackles Wolverine, takes him down to the ground, and then he makes the comment that he's going to use his heavy skeleton against him. Now, to my knowledge, Wolverine's heavy skeleton hasn't ever been a problem in a fight other than, maybe with Magneto because it's, adamantium. But anyways, he uses his telekinesis on top of Wolverine's heavy skeleton to hold him down and get the pin in this fight. And Silver Samurai announces the pin and declares Cable victorious, and hence witness mutant supremacy over other mutants. I didn't get that. From there, a couple things happened. There was a wager made, so Wolverine ends up giving up a marker to Cable, and then Silver Samurai gets straight savage with Wolverine. He's actually being complimentary at first. He says, hey, well fought, Logan. Youth is coming for us all. And Wolverine kind of, yeah. When are you going to face me? Silver Samurai comes back with, is it your intention to give everyone on the island a marker? And Wolverine's just like, shut up. That's it. I'm done. And from there we get a official record of combat in the Quarry. And since we're not going to have March Madness apparently, I'm going to go ahead and go through some of this stuff because some of it's pretty interesting. Of course, we knew Cable beat Wolverine. Callisto's won 3 matches, but she's beat Jumbo, Carnation, Fish, and Pyro. So one mid-ranked team at best. So honestly, with that, she may end up in the NIT. Leech beat Artie. Who cares? Dazzler beat Jubilee. I mean, so some people aren't going to like that, but I'm going to have to go with it. Wolfsbane beat Pyro. Pyro's just he's not winning anything. He's not going to the tournament. You had M beat Bishop, which is, Monet doing her penance thing. against Bishop, and a couple other ones. Nightcrawler and Blink fought to a draw. Gorgon. This is there was a comment earlier that I didn't mention that Cable says there's no cheating inside the quarry except for what Magic did. Well, apparently Magic was disqualified in her fight against Gorgon, so there's no telling what happened with that. I will say, as far as White Pages goes, this wasn't the worst idea I've ever seen. From there, we jump to outside the quarry where Cable's walking with Pixie and Armor, and he gets approached by this little kid who tells him, like, look, my buddy and I, he wasn't supposed to go in the woods or to the other side of the island, the monster side of the island, but he did. Can you help us go save him? It doesn't take Cable long to find him, and when he does, the kid tells him, look, I can still feel his pain, talking about whatever it is. Well, that's when you see what it is, and what it is this giant lion monster. But before the fight starts, Pixie goes over to Fauna and sprinkles some fairy dust on her or whatever, and instead of seeing this giant monster now, she gets all goofy and starts seeing this weird Mickey Mouse Clubhouse goofy lion dog thing. I don't know. Well, the fight goes on for a while. Armor actually manages to save Cable from getting stomped into the ground at one point, and while they're all having their moment there, Cable notices there's something jammed into the paw of the giant monster that's making him grumpy. Who would have guessed it? It was like the most obvious thing as soon as Green Dude said, oh, I feel his pain. I was like, well, he's got something jammed in his paw. Guarantee it. Well, sure enough, they concoct a plan, knock this giant thing over, which Armor just holds him down, and Cable reaches up, pulls this piece of metal out from his paw, and it ends up being this giant sword. But when Cable grabs it and pulls it out, it shocks the living crap out of him. He just starts bending backwards and passes out. And while he's out, he has this vision of, he's basically living the life of this other individual who had it before him, which was some kind of crazy space knight named Morn. And what Morn's thing was is he chased monsters all over the galaxy, and he happened to chase some to Earth, and when he arrived, he killed them, but then he met a bigger monster who stepped on him. From there, Cable wakes up back at his room, and he picks up the sword again and tells everybody, yeah, I think it's fine. It was just some kind of psychic flashback of the first owner, and I think it's supposed to happen. From there, Cyclops shows up, and, of course, all the friends are like, whoop, we gotta go. And he's like, hey, I thought there was pretty clear to everyone that, hey, we don't go to Monster Island. And Cable explains what happens, but then he shows him the sword, explains where he pulled it from, and the whole robot knight thing. And, Cyclops takes it, looks at it, and says, hey, this is pretty light. This is too light to be from Earth. And he starts checking it out. Well, I suspect that Cyclops is right, because from there we jump off of Earth onto this undisclosed planet, and it looks like a museum. And in that museum are these 3 Cylon-looking suits. And when apparently Cable touched the sword, they awoke, and they call it the Blade, the Light of Galador. It has been found. And these suits, which I guess have just lied dormant for all these years, just wake up, and they go storming out of this museum, and they're on their way to Krakoa to either reclaim this blade or go visit whoever it is that has it. Because as they very vaguely state, the Light of Galador can restore everything we desire, which, is why you would go and get it, of course. From there, we jump to the peak that I mentioned earlier, how this book is kind of meh until the end, where it kind of has a big peak. And it begins with this crab creature. It says, another time and another place. This thing hisses and says, I promise you, no matter how long it takes, we will kill you for this affront to our sovereign lands. He starts building some kind of energy ball, and just blam! His little crab claws get shot off. And this little crab is just sitting there going, aye! And you get a voice, where is he? And this crab says, go someplace unpleasant, old man. And then old man here don't even hesitate. He just shoots him again and offers up a you first, as we get a shot of old man Cable here in Dawn of X. And that reveal, I think, helped elevate this book in a lot of people's minds. It helped build excitement for it, which I guess as far as the #1 goes, that's really what you hope for, is just to have enough build up that somebody will go ahead and say, yeah, I'm going to pick up #2 and continue on with this storyline. From there, we get a white page called The Hunt, and it's the first entry in a log that's detailing what's going on with this hunt. And what we have is a bunch of demons, apparently, that have taken hostages and taken them off-world. And while Cable is trying to find and save these hostages, it also appears that these demons are trying to go down this Inferno route and burn the Earth in Hellfire once again. And this could be very interesting, since we know we have a Hellions book coming up with Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen. We know that there's already Arakko that has re-emerged. We know that Apocalypse's 4 original horsemen were fighting on the other side of Arakko and trying to hold back this enemy that we know is eventually going to storm in through that void, through that gap. And we know that Gerry Duggan and Jonathan Hickman are working very closely as far as the X creators on this title. So Cable is one of those ones that I always feel like you have to be careful with, especially with him jumping forward, because if they're not going to have any precogs on the island, I wonder how that is going to play in with time travelers. If he's 20 years in the future and comes back and knows what happens from his future, I mean, he can end up throwing a Moira McTaggart under the bus, or whatever happens, or if she has a master plan and we find out about it, or if Krakoa and all these kind of conspiracy theories almost going on, if any of those come to, Cable would be the guy that knows about it. He should know if Mr. Sinister is going to pull something shady. He should know if we're going to have a problem with the 3rd level or 3rd generation chimeras, all that stuff. If we're going to have those issues this time around, he should be the guy to let us know, theoretically, right? Anyways, guys, I will say that I'm not a huge fan of the Phil Noto art on this. It's just, I don't like it. It's there are some people, I mean, it's kind of got that paintbrush look, in my opinion. There are some people that will absolutely love it. I think in some scenes his proportions are off. It's just, I don't like the colors. I don't like the art on it. And I didn't like the cover, the forced looking crease on it. I get it that it's like the old school movie looking poster up on some kid's wall. I wasn't fired up about it. So the art I really did not go for in this book. I did, like I said, it was kind of an average book in my opinion as far as the writing. It did pique my interest at the end because I'm excited for Old Man Cable being back. I think a lot of people are. That's probably why you're going to see this book reviewed higher than what it probably deserves, is because of just that. Because, hey, Old Man Cable's back. But hey, that's just my take on it. Y'all tell me what you think. Was this just an average issue that peaked at the end because of, hey, I'm excited to get this character back? Or was this a good issue? What'd you think about the Quarry? Tell me down in the comments below. And of course, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications. And guys, have a great rest of your week. That's all I got. Real Comic Stacks out.